Crescent Heights Theater. I feel like I always introduce myself, but then I look out and I'm like, I feel like we're already kind of family because it's always some similar faces and it's always so lovely to see. But if you do not know me, my name is Allison Demera. I am the drama teacher here at Crescent. Yeah, I know. I teach these people all day long. Apparently they didn't know my name. And I'm the fortunate director of the Bald Soprano. So I always tell the children, yes, that the first show of the semester is for them, and the second one is for me. So this is my favorite show ever. It is Absurdist, so do not try to fully understand what's going on. It will drive you nuts, and not in a good way. We want to drive you a little crazy in a good way. I don't usually give too much away about the plot, but I do want to make sure that I mention that time is very important in this show. Thus the, many clocks we have up behind us, as is the idea of communication. So it's sort of an idea of the breakdown of communication as we move through the show. You will start to understand there's much less sense being made, and our characters don't really live in the same time span. So again, don't try to make sense of it. Enjoy it for what it is. There's some very, very funny lines. Even if it doesn't make sense, it's still amusing. These kids have worked extremely hard for the last couple months. When you see and hear the lines, you will understand how much work they put into memorizing. There are no sensical cue lines, none, not one. So they were really relying on understanding the cue lines before theirs as to say theirs, because it really just makes no sense. So they're a phenomenal group of 6 actors. That's all we have this time around. Again, I said it's for me. It's less wrangling and less worrying if they have their costumes together or not. But it's been an absolute treat. So we have had lots of laughs. If you get a chance to read the quotes, you'll understand a little bit of what we do in our rehearsals. But I hope you guys all really enjoy the show tonight. It is just under an hour, so it's a quick one, but it packs a lot in that hour. So thank you so much for coming and enjoy.
What the hell is going on? I'm at the cinema.
The English water. We've eaten well this evening. That is because we live in the suburbs of London and because our name is Smith. Potatoes are very good fried and fat. The salad oil was not rancid. The oil from the grocer at the corner is better quality than the oil from the grocer down the street. It is even better than the oil from the grocer across the street. However, I prefer not to tell them that their oil is bad. However, the oil from the grocer at the corner is still the best. Mary did the potatoes very well this evening. The last time, she did not do them well. I do not like them when they are well done. The fish was fresh. It made my mouth water. I had 2 helpings, no, 3 helpings. That made me go to the WC. Also had 3 helpings. However, the 3rd time you took a great deal less than the first 2 times, whereas I took a great deal more. Why is that? It is normally you who eats better than me. It is not appetite that you lack. The soup was perhaps a little too salty. It was saltier than you! It also had not enough onions and too many leeks. And I regret that I didn't advise Mary to add some aniseed stars. The next time I'll know better. Our little boy wanted to try some English beer this evening. He is going to love getting tiddly. He is like you. At the table, did you notice how he stared at the bottle? But I poured some water from the jug into his glass, and he was thirsty and drank it. Helen is like me. She's a good manager, thrifty, plays the piano. She never asks to drink English beer. She is like our little daughter who drinks only milk and eats only porridge. It is obvious that she's only 3. She is named Peggy. The quince and bean pie was marvelous this evening. It would have been nice, perhaps, with an Australian burgundy on the side. But I did not bring the bottle to the table because I did not want to set the children a bad example of gluttony. They must learn to be sober and temperate. Mrs. Parker knows a Romanian grocer by the name of Popescu Rosenfeld, who has recently come from Constantinople. He is a great specialist in yogurt. He has a degree from this great school of yogurt making in Adrianople. Tomorrow, I'm going to buy a large pot of native Romanian yogurt from him. It is not often that one finds such things here in the suburbs of London. Yogurt is very good for the kidneys, the stomach, the appendicitis, and the apotheosis. It is Dr. Mackenzie King who told me that. He is the man who looks after our neighbors' children, the Johns. He's a good doctor. One can trust him. He never prescribes any medicine before trying it out himself. And before operating on Parker, he had his own liver operated on first. He was not the least bit ill.
How does it happen that the doctor pulled through while Parker perished?
Because the operation was successful in Parker's case, and it was in the doctor's case, and it was not in Parker's.
Then Mackenzie's is not a good doctor. The operation should have been successful in both cases, or both should have perished.
Why?
A conscientious doctor must die with his patient if they can't get well together. A captain of his ship goes down with his ship into the briny deep. He does not survive alone.
One cannot compare a patient with a ship.
Why not? A ship has its diseases too. Moreover, your doctor is as hale as a ship. That's why he should have perished at the same time, like captain and his ship.
I never thought of that. Maybe it's true. And what conclusion do you draw from this?
All doctors are quacks. All patients too. Only the Royal Navy is honest in England.
But not sailors.
Naturally. Here's a thing I don't understand. In the newspaper, they always give the age of the recently deceased, but never the age of the recently born. Why is that?
I never thought of that.
Bobby Watson died.
Oh, the poor man! When did he die?
Why do you pretend to be astonished? You know very well he's been dead this past year. Surely you remember we attended his funeral a year and a half ago.
Oh, yes, I remember. I remember that right away. But I do not understand why you yourself seem to be so surprised to see it in the paper.
It wasn't in the paper. It's been 4 years since his death was announced. I remembered it through an association of ideas.
Poor Bobby. He was so well preserved.
He was the handsomest corpse in all of Great Britain. It'd been 4 years, and he was still warm. What a veritable living corpse he was, and how cheerful he was.
Poor Bobby.
Which poor Bobby do you mean?
It is his wife that I mean. She is named Bobby too, Bobby Watson. Since they had the same name, you could never tell one from the other when you saw them together. tell the two apart. But there are still people today who confuse her with the deceased and offer their condolences to him. Have you met her?
I met her once, by chance at Bobby's burial.
I've never seen her. Is she pretty?
She has average features, and yet one cannot say that she's pretty. She's a little too big and stout. She does not have average features, and yet one could say that she's very pretty. She's a little too small and thin. She's a voice teacher.
And when do they plan on being married, those two?
Next spring at the latest.
We shall have to go to their wedding, I suppose.
We shall have to give them a present. I wonder what?
How about one of those 7 silver salvers that was given to us for our wedding and have never been of any use to us? Poor woman to be a widow so young.
Fortunately, they have no children.
Children! That was all they needed. Poor woman. How could she have managed?
She's still young. She might very well remarry. She looks so good in mourning.
But who will look after the children? You know very well they have 2, a boy and a girl. What are their names again?
Bobby and Bobby. Bobby Watson's uncle, old Bobby Watson, is a rich man and very fond of the boy. He might very well pay for Bobby's education.
That would be proper. And old Bobby Watson, Bobby Watson's aunt, might very well, in her turn, pay for the education of Bobby, Bobby Watson's daughter. That way, Bobby, Bobby Watson's mother, could remarry. Had she anyone in mind?
Yes, a cousin of Bobby Watson.
Who? Bobby Watson.
Which Bobby Watson do you mean?
The son of old Bobby Watson, the late Bobby Watson's other uncle.
No, it's not that one. It's Bobby Watson, the son of old Bobby Watson, the late Bobby Watson's aunt.
Are you referring to Bobby Watson, the commercial traveler?
All the Bobby Watsons are commercial travelers.
What a difficult trade. However, they do well at it.
Yes, when there's no competition.
And when is there no competition?
On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Tuesdays.
3 days a week. And what does Bobby Watson do on those days?
He rests, he sleeps.
But why does Bobby sleep if those are the days when there's no competition?
I don't know everything. I can't answer all your idiotic questions.
Oh, are you trying to humiliate me?
You know very well that I'm not.
Men are all alike. You sit there, a cigarette in your mouth, and you rouge your lips and powder your nose 50 times a day, and you drink like a fish.
But what would you say if you saw men acting like women do? Smoking, powdering, rouging their lips, drinking whiskey.
It is nothing to me, but if you were saying that just to humiliate me, I do not stand for that kind of joking. You know that very well.
Oh, my little ducky daddles. What a little spitfire you are. You know I only said it as a joke. What a ridiculous pair of old lovers we are. Let's pack the lights and go bye-byes.
I'm the maid.
I'm the maid! I have had the most wonderful afternoon.
I went to the cinema with a man and saw a film with a woman. After the cinema, we drank brandy and milk and read the newspaper.
I hope that you've had a pleasant afternoon, that you've gone to the cinema with a man and drank some brandy and milk.
And the newspaper.
Mr. and Mrs. Martin, your house guests are waiting for you outside. They didn't dare come in themselves. They're waiting for me to let them in. You're supposed to have dinner with them this evening.
Oh yes, we've been expecting them, and we were hungry. Since they didn't put in an effort and an appearance, we were going to eat without them. We've had nothing to eat all day. You should not have gone out.
But it was you who gave me permission.
We didn't do it on purpose.
and Mrs. Martin step in, and we will go and change quickly.
Why are you so late? People should be punctual. It's very rude of you. Now that you're here, take a seat and wait.
Excuse me, madam. Seems to me, unless I'm quite mistaken, that I've seen you somewhere before.
I do, sir. It seems to me that I've met you somewhere before.
Was it perhaps in Manchester that I caught a glimpse of you, madam?
Oh, that is very possible. I'm originally from the city of Manchester, but I haven't a good memory, sir, so I cannot say whether it was there I caught a glimpse of you or not.
Oh, how curious that is. I too am originally from the city of Manchester, madam.
That is curious.
Only I, madam. I left the city of Manchester about 5 weeks ago.
It is. Oh, what a coincidence. I too, sir, left the city of Manchester about 5 weeks ago.
Madam, I took the 8:30 morning train that arrives at London at 4:45.
What a coincidence. I took the same train too, sir. I too.
Well then, perhaps it was on that train that we saw each other, madam.
That is indeed possible. That is, it's not at all unlikely. It is plausible. But I cannot recall it, my dear sir.
Madam, I traveled second class. There is no second class in England. But I always travel second class.
I too, sir, travelled second class.
Madam, I was seated in coach number 8, compartment 6, my dear lady.
How curious it is. What a bizarre coincidence. I too, sir, was seated at number 8, compartment 6.
Oh, what a coincidence. Perhaps I was in compartment 6 that we'd seen each other, my dear lady.
That is indeed possible. But I cannot remember it for certain, my dear sir.
Madam, I was seated at seat number 3, next to the window, my dear lady.
Oh, good Lord. What a bizarre coincidence. I had seat number 6, next to the window, across from you, my dear sir.
Well then, we were seated facing across each other, my dear lady.
That is curious.
Madam, were you not the one who asked me to put a suitcase on the luggage rack? Who thanked me? And who gave me permission to smoke?
That must have been I, sir. What a coincidence. Good Lord, what a coincidence.
Well, perhaps it was in that moment that we seen each other, my dear lady.
That is very likely. But I cannot recall it for certain, my dear sir.
Or can I? Ever since moving to London, I resided in Bromfield Street, my dear lady.
How curious it is. What a coincidence. I too, sir, have resided in Bromfield Street.
Well, perhaps it was on the street that we seen each other, my dear lady.
That is indeed possible. But I cannot recall it, my dear sir.
Madam, I live on number 19 on Bromfield Street.
Oh, what a coincidence. I too, sir, reside at number 19.
Well then, perhaps it was in the house we seen each other, my dear lady.
That is very likely, but I cannot remember it for certain, my dear sir.
Madam, I live on flat number 8, on the 5th floor, my dear lady.
Oh, good Lord, what a bizarre coincidence. I too, sir, reside at number 8 on the 5th floor.
How curious that is, how curious that is, how curious that is. And what a bizarre coincidence. Madam, in my bedroom there's a bed with the green eiderdown. This room with its bed and its green eiderdown is located at the end of the corridor, between the WC and the bookcase, my dear lady.
Oh, how curious it is. My bedroom, too, has a bed with a green eiderdown, and it is located at the end of the hallway, dear sir, between the WC and the bookcase.
Well then, we live in the same room and sleep in the same bed. Perhaps it was there that we seen each other.
That is very possible. Perhaps even last night. But I cannot recall it for certain, my dear sir.
I have a little girl, my little daughter. She's 2 years old, blonde, has a red eye and a blue eye. She is very pretty. Her name is Alice, my dear lady.
How curious it is. I too have a little girl. She's 2. She has a red eye and a blue eye. And she's very pretty, and her name is Alice too, dear sir.
Well, perhaps they are the same.
That is indeed possible. But I cannot recall it for certain, my dear sir.
Nor can I. I have seen you before, and you are my own wife, Elizabeth. I have found you.
Donald, it's you, darling. Donald and Elizabeth are now too happy to be able to hear me speak. Therefore, I can let you in on a secret. Donald is not Donald, and Elizabeth is not Elizabeth. And here's the proof. The child Donald speaks of is not the same as Elizabeth's daughter. Donald's daughter has a white eye and a red eye, like Elizabeth's daughter. Whereas Donald's daughter has a white right eye and a red left eye. Whereas Elizabeth's daughter has a white right eye and a red left eye. Therefore, all of Donald's system of deduction collapses up against its final obstacle, destroying his entire theory, further proving that they're not parents to the same child. It is in vain that he thinks she is Elizabeth. It is in vain that she thinks he is Donald. Thinks he is Donald. It is in vain that she thinks she is Elizabeth. But who is the true Donald? Who is the true Elizabeth? Who has any interest in prolonging this confusion? I do not know. Let's leave things as they are. My real name is Sherlock Holmes.
Lovely.
Darling, let us not forget all that is not past. And now that we have found each other, let us not try to lose each other again and continue to live as before.
Yes, darling.
Good evening, dear friends. Please forgive us for having made you wait so long. We thought that we should extend you the courtesy to which you are entitled, and as soon as we heard that you had been kind enough to come and visit us without any prior notice, we hurried to dress for the occasion.
We've had nothing to eat all evening. We've waited 4 whole hours for you. Where have you been?
Oh, yes, definitely.
We all have colds.
Nevertheless, it's not chilly.
There's no draft.
No, fortunately.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Don't you feel well?
No.
He's wet his pants.
Oh, sir, at your age you shouldn't.
Some say the heart is ageless.
That is true.
So they say.
Some say otherwise.
The truth lies in between the two.
That is also true.
Since you travel so much, you must have some interesting things to tell us.
Oh, why don't you tell him what you see today?
Well, I'm afraid it wouldn't be worth the trouble because you wouldn't believe me.
We're not going to question your sincerity.
You would offend us if you think that.
You would offend them, my dear, if you think that.
Oh, well, today I saw something truly extraordinary, something very incredible.
Well, tell us quickly, my dear.
This is going to be amusing.
At last.
Today, when I was going to get some vegetables, which are getting to be dearer and dearer.
Where is it all going to end?
Don't interrupt, my dear. It's very rude.
In the street, near a cafe, I saw a man, probably dressed about 50 or not even that, who
What? Who what?
Don't interrupt, my dear. You're disgusting.
My dear, it is you who interrupted first, you bore.
Go on.
well, I'm afraid you wouldn't believe me. He was down on one knee, and he was bent over.
Oh!
Yes, bent over.
Not possible.
Yes, bent over. So I got a little closer to see what he was doing, and he was tying his shoelace, to which I was done.
Fantastic! not believe them.
Well, why not? One sees things more extraordinary when one walks around. For instance, I myself today saw a man in the underground who was quietly sitting down, reading a newspaper.
What a character!
Perhaps it was the same man. Goodness, someone is ringing.
There must be someone there. I'll go and see. No one.
I'm going to give you another example.
Goodness, someone is ringing.
There must be someone there. I'll go and see. No one.
You were going to give us another example.
Oh, yes.
Goodness, someone is ringing.
I'm not going to open the door again.
But someone is there.
The first time, there was no one. The second time, no one. What makes you think that there is someone there now?
Because someone has rung.
That's no reason.
What? When one hears the doorbell ring, that means there's someone at the door ringing in order to have the door opened.
Not always. You've just seen otherwise.
In most cases, yes.
As for me, when I go to visit someone, I ring the bell in order to be admitted. I assume that everyone does the same, and that each time you hear the doorbell ring, there is someone there.
That is true in theory, but in reality, things happen differently. You're just seen otherwise.
Your wife is right.
Oh, you women, always standing up for each other.
Fine, I'll go and see. You cannot say that I'm obstinate, but you will see that there is no one there. You see, there is no one there. These men who always think they're right and who are always wrong.
Goodness, someone is ringing.
Do not send me to open the door again. You have seen that it is useless. Experience teaches us that when one hears the doorbell ring, there is never anyone there. Never.
Well, that is not entirely accurate.
In fact, it's false. When one hears the doorbell ring, that means someone has rung it.
That is not impossible.
No. Yes, I tell you no. In any case, if you wish to know, go see for yourself.
I'll go. Oh, how do you do? It's the fire chief!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Mrs. Smith.
Oh.
You appear to be angry.
My wife's a little chagrined at having been proved wrong.
There's been an argument between Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Mr. Fire Chief.
This is no business of yours. I ask you not to include outsiders in a family argument.
This is not so serious, my dear. The fire chief is an old friend of the family. His mother courted me, and I knew his father. He asked me to give him my daughter in marriage if I ever had one, and he died waiting.
Well, that's neither his fault nor yours.
Well, what is this all about?
You see, my husband
No, it was she who was claiming.
Yes, it was she.
No, it was he.
Don't get excited. You tell me, Mrs. Smith.
Well, this is how it was. It is hard for me to be honest with you, but a fire chief is also a confessor.
Well then,
You see, my husband was claiming that whenever one hears the doorbell ring, there is always someone there.
It is plausible.
And I was saying that when one hears the doorbell ring, there is never anyone there.
It might seem strange.
It's been proven, not by theoretical demonstration, but by fact.
That's false, since the fire chief is here. He rang the bell, I opened the door, and there he was.
When?
What, just now?
Yes, but that was only the fourth time the doorbell rang, and the fourth time does not count.
Never. It was the first 3 times that count.
Mr. Fire Chief, intern, permit me to ask you several questions.
go right ahead.
When I opened the door and saw you, it was really you who had rung the bell?
Yes, it was I.
You were at the door, and you rang in order to be admitted.
I do not deny it.
I was right! When one hears the doorbell ring, that means someone has rung it. You clearly cannot say that the fire chief is not someone.
Certainly not. I repeat to you that I was speaking of only the first 3 times, and that the fourth time does not count.
And when the bell rang for the first time, was it you who rang?
No, it was not I.
You see, the bell rang and there was no one there.
Oh, perhaps it was someone else.
Were you standing outside for a long while?
3/4 of an hour.
And you saw no one?
No one. sure of that.
What about the second time? Did you hear the bell when it rang?
Yes, but that was not either. There was still no one there.
Victory! I was right.
Not so fast. And what were you doing outside?
Nothing. I was just standing there. I was thinking of many things.
The third time, it was not you who rang.
Yes, it was I.
But when we opened the door, no one was in sight.
That's because I'd hidden myself.
This is no time for joking, Mr. Fire Chief. This business is too sad.
Well, in short, we still do not know whether when one hears the doorbell ring, there's someone there or not.
Always someone.
Never anyone.
I am going to reconcile you. You both are probably right. When the doorbell rings, sometimes there's someone, other times there is no one.
This seems logical to me.
I think so too.
Life is very simple, really. Go on and kiss each other.
We just kissed each other a little while ago.
They'll kiss each other tomorrow. They have plenty of time.
Mr. Fire Chief, since you've helped us settle this argument, why don't you stay for a while and make yourself comfortable? Take off your hat and have a seat.
Excuse me, but I can't stay long. I should like to remove my helmet, but I haven't time to sit down. I must admit that I've come to see you for another reason. I am on official business.
Well, what can we do for you, Mr. Fire Chief?
I must beg you to excuse my discretion. You don't mind in front of them.
Say whatever you like.
They're old friends. They tell us everything.
Well, is there a fire here?
That.
It's because, pardon me, I have orders to extinguish all the fires in the city.
All?
Yes, all.
I don't know. I don't think so. Do you want me to go and look?
There can't be. I don't smell of anything burning.
Not at all. You don't have a little fire in the chimney or something burning in the attic in the cellar? A little fire just starting at least?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm afraid we don't have anything. I promise to notify you as soon as we do have something.
Please don't forget. It'd be a great help.
That's a promise.
And there's nothing burning at your house either.
Oh, no, unfortunately.
Things aren't going so well just now.
Very poorly. There's almost been nothing. A few trifles, a chimney, a barn, nothing good. And since there are no returns, the profits on outputs are very meager.
It's the same with business and agriculture as it is fires. Nothing's prospering.
No wheat, no fires.
No floods either.
But there's sugar!
1, 2, 3, go!
That's because it's important.
Harder in the case of fires. The tariffs are too high.
All the same, there's an occasional asphyxiation by gas, but that's unusual too. For instance, a young woman asphyxiated herself last week. She had left the gas on.
Had she forgotten it?
No, but she thought it was her comb.
These confusions are always dangerous.
Are you going to visit the match dealer?
There's nothing doing there. He's insured against fires.
Well, why don't you use the Vicar of Wakefield and use my name?
I don't have the right to extinguish clergymen's fires. The bishop would can. And besides, they extinguish their fires themselves. Or else they'd have them put out by vestal virgins. I can't do that either. He's not English. He's only been naturalized. And naturalized citizens have the right to have houses, but not the right to have them put out if they're burning.
The last time it set fire, it was put out just the same.
He did that all by himself, clandestinely.
Oh, clandestinely!
But it is not I who would report him.
Neither would I.
Mr. Fire Chief, Since you're not too pressed, why don't you stay for a while? You'd be doing us a favor.
Shall I tell you some stories?
Oh, by all means!
Yes, some stories, hurrah!
The interesting thing about the firemen's stories is they're all based on real experiences.
I speak from my own experience. Truth. Nothing but the truth. No fiction.
That's right, truth is never found in books, only in real life.
Begin.
Begin!
Quiet. He is beginning.
Don't look at me that way. You embarrass me. You know that I'm shy.
Isn't he charming?
I'm going to try to begin anyhow, but promise me they won't listen.
But if we don't listen, how will we hear you?
But I didn't think of that.
I told you, he's just a boy.
Oh, the sweet child.
Shut up!
Well then. The Dog and the Cow, an experimental fable. Once upon a time, another cow asked another dog, "Why have you not swallowed your trunk?" "Pardon me," replied the dog. "It's because I thought I was an elephant."
Oh, what is the moral?
To find out.
He's right. Tell us another. You're furious.
A young calf had eaten too much ground glass. As a result, it was obliged to give birth. It brought forth another cow into the world. However, since the calf was male, the cow could not call him Mama.
Mama?
Nor could she call him Papa because the calf was too little.
Papa?
The cow was then obliged to get married.
Moo, 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 moo. Moo, moo. I moo.
And the registry office carried out all the details completely a la mode.
A la mode de car.
Like tribes.
You heard that one.
It was in all the paper. It happened not too far from our house.
I'll tell you another. The cock. Once upon a time, the cock wished to play the dog, but he had no luck because everyone recognized him right away.
But, however, the dog that wished to play the cock was never recognized.
Welcome all you jazzy cats and kittens to an evening at the fire pit, where flames of jazz ignite the soul and the boundaries between poetry and art blur. As the night unfolds and the smooth saxophone and the massive rhythm of the drums carry you through the night, as poets, with pens dipped in inks of passion, paint vivid landscapes of thoughts and feeling. Let tonight's night of creativity be a testament to human expression. Welcome to a jazz night of poetry at the fire pit, where hearts beat in syncopation and souls find solace in the embrace of art.
I'll tell you one. The Snake and the Fox. Once upon a time, a snake came up to a fox and said, "It seems to me that I know you." "As do I," said the fox. "Then," said the snake, "give me some money." "A snake doesn't give money," replied the tricky animal, who in order to escape jumped down into a ravine full of strawberries and chicken honey. But the snake was there waiting with a wicked laugh. The fox pulled out a knife, shouting, "I'm going to teach you how to live." He took to flight, turning his back, but the snake was quicker. With a well-chosen blow of his fist, he struck the snake in the middle of the forehead, which broke into 1,000 pieces while he shouted, "No, no, Portine, no, I'm not your daughter!"
Interesting. It's not. bad.
My congratulations.
Not so good. And anyways, I've heard it before.
It's terrible.
It wasn't even true.
Why don't you tell us one?
I only know one. It is called the bouquet.
My wife has always been romantic.
She's a true English woman.
I'll tell it to you. Once upon a time, a fiancé gave a bouquet of flowers to his fiancée. She said thanks. But before she had said thanks, without saying a word, took them back. He said goodbye, and he took them back. And he went off in all directions.
How charming.
You have a wife, Mr. Smith, of whom all of England is jealous.
My wife is intelligence personified. She's even more intelligent than I. And more feminine. Everyone says so.
Why don't you tell us another, Mr. Fireteeth?
Oh, no, it's too late.
Tell us one anyway.
Too tired.
Please, do us a favor.
I beg you.
No.
You are hot and ice, and we're sitting on hot coals.
I implore you.
Pronto.
He's going to chorus again.
No luck, I was too polite.
The head coat. My brother-in-law had, on the paternal side, a first cousin whose paternal uncle had a father-in-law whose paternal grandmother had married as his second wife, a young native whose brother he had met on one of his travels, a girl of whom was enamored, and by whom he had a son, who married an intrepid lady pharmacist, who was none other than the niece of an unknown fourth-class petty officer of the Royal Navy, whose daughter father had an aunt who spoke Spanish fluently, and who was perhaps one of the granddaughters of an engineer who died young, himself the grandson of an owner of a vineyard which produced mediocre wine, but who had a second cousin, a stay-at-home, a surgeon major, whose son had married a very pretty young woman, a divorcee, whose first husband was the son of a loyal patriot, and who, in the hopes of making his fortune, had managed to bring up one of his daughters so that she could marry a footman, who had known Rothschild, and his brother, after having to change his trade several times, married and had a daughter whose son's great-grandfather wore spectacles, which had been given him by a cousin of his. The brother-in-law of the man from Portugal, natural son of a miller not too badly armed, whose foster brother married a daughter of a former country doctor, who was himself the foster brother of a son of a forester, himself the natural son of another country doctor, married 3 times in a row, whose third wife...
I think I knew that third wife, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not the same one. As I was saying, whose third wife was the daughter of the best midwife in the region, and who early left a widow,
Like my wife.
married a glazier who was full of life, and who had, by the daughter of a station master, a child who had burnt his bridges,
Bridges.
No, his bridge here.
married an oyster woman, whose father had a brother, mayor of a small town, who had taken as his wife a blonde school teacher, and whose cousin, a fly fisherman,
A fly-by-night.
and whose brother had married another blonde school teacher named Marie too, whose brother was married to another Marie, also a blonde school teacher,
Since she's blonde, she must be a Marie.
and whose father had been reared in Canada by an old woman who was the niece of a priest, and whose grandmother, occasionally in the winter, like everyone else, caught a cold.
Achoo! Let's play charades!
I love that game.
It was an interesting story, almost unbelievable.
If you catch a cold, you must get yourself a cold.
A useless precaution, but absolutely necessary. Yogurt.
Champagne.
Porridge.
Tiddly.
Clown.
Tiddly.
Bobby Watson.
Oh.
The maid. Brandy and milk. One newspaper. Champagne. Alcohol. Whiskey.
Yes. Fire pole.
Dr. Mackenzie.
Busy Wonderland.
Striped.
The
Bald Soprano.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Fowler, but I did not follow your story very well. At the end, when we got to the grandmother of the priest, I got all mixed up.
One always.
Oh yes, tell it again, Mr. Fire. We'd all like to hear.
I don't know whether I'll be able to. I'm on official business. It depends on what time it is.
We don't have the time here.
But the clock?
It runs badly. It's contradictory. It always indicates the opposite out of what it really is.
Madam, sir, what do you want?
What have you come in here for?
Madam, sir, and the ladies will learn too, if you excuse me. I'd like to tell you my own story.
What is she saying?
I believe our friend's maid has gone crazy. Who wants to tell us a story?
Who does she think she is? Oh,
Why are you butting in?
This is really uncalled for, Mary.
oh, but it's a she. Incredible.
And you?
Incredible.
Here? What's happening?
You know each other.
And how?
I thought I'd never see you again. This is all too much here at our home in the suburbs of London.
It's not proper.
It is she who extinguished my first fires.
I'm your little fire hose.
In that case, dear friends, these emotions are understandable, human, honorable.
All that is human is honorable.
Even so, I do not like it here among us.
She has not been properly brought up.
Oh, you have too many prejudices.
Well, what I think is that a maid, even though it is none of my business, is never anything more than a maid.
Even if she could sometimes be a good detective.
Let me go.
You're not that bad, I promise.
You two are sweet, but a little too,
Yes, that's exactly the word.
a little too exhibitionistic.
There's a native British modesty, that is, and excuse me for yet again trying to define my own thought, that is not understood by foreigners, even by specialists, thanks to whom which, if I may thus express myself, of course I don't mean to refer to you.
I was going to tell you.
Don't say anything.
Little Mary, why don't you run quickly to the kitchen and read your poems before the mirror?
You know, even though I myself am not a maid, I too read my poems before the mirror.
When you looked at yourself in the mirror this morning, you didn't see yourself.
Well, that's because I wasn't there yet.
All the same, I would recite you my poems then.
Little Mary, you are frightfully obstinate.
Then it's decided. I'm reading you my poems. This poem is called The Fire, in honor of the fire chief. The polypoids were burning in the woods. A stone caught fire. The castle caught fire. The forest caught fire. A man caught fire. The woman caught fire. The fish caught fire. The sea caught fire. The sky caught fire. The ashes caught fire. The smoke caught fire. Everything caught fire. 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 That sent chills up my spine.
There's a certain warmth in those words.
That was marvelous.
All the same,
You're exaggerating.
Just a minute. I admit that all of this is very subjective, but this is my conception of the world, my dream, my ideal. And now this reminds me that I must leave. Since I still have the time here, I must tell you that it's actually 3/4 of an hour and 16 minutes. I'm having a fire at the other end of the city. Consequently, I must hurry, even though it will be quite unimportant.
Well, what will it be? A little chimney fire.
Oh, not even that. A straw fire and a little heartburn.
Well, sorry to see you go.
You have been very entertaining.
Thanks to you, we have passed a truly Cartesian quarter of an hour.
Speaking of that, the Bald Soprano.
She always wears her hair in the same style.
Ah, then good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good luck and a good fire.
Let's hope so, for everybody.
For my brother, but you can't buy Ireland for your grandfather.
One walks on his feet for one heats when electricity or coal.
He who sells an ox today will have an egg tomorrow.
In real life, one must always look out the window.
One can sit on a chair when the chair doesn't have any.
One must always think of everything.
The ceiling is above and the floor is below.
When I say yes, it is only a matter of speaking.
Oh, to each his own.
Take a circle, caress it, and becomes vicious.
A schoolmaster teaches his pupils to read, while the cat suckles her young when they are small.
Nevertheless, it is the cow that gave us tails.
When I'm in the countryside, I enjoy the solitude and quiet.
You're not quite old enough yet for that.
Benjamin Franklin was right. You are more nervous than he.
What are the days of the week?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Edward is a clerk, his sister Nancy a typist, and their brother William a shop assistant.
An odd family.
I'd rather a bird in the bush to a sparrow in a barrow.
Rather steak in a chalet than a gristle in a castle.
An Englishman's home is truly his castle.
I don't know enough Spanish to make myself understood.
I'll give you my mother-in-law's slippers if you give me your husband's coffin.
I'm looking for a priest to marry our maid.
Bread is a staff, whereas bread is also a staff, and an oak springs from an oak every morning at dawn.
My uncle lives in the countryside, but that's none of the midwife's business.
Paper is for writing, the cat is for the rat, and cheese is for scratching.
The car goes fast, but the cook beats batter better.
Don't be turkeys, rather kiss the conspirer.
Charity begins at home.
I'm waiting for an aqueduct to come and visit me at my windmill.
One can always agree that social progress is served better with sugar.
To hell with polishing!
Well, one doesn't polish spectacles with black wax.
But with money, one can buy anything.
I'd rather kill a rabbit than go and sing in the garden.
Cockatoos!
Fudge caca!
Such cascades of caucus, 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 such cascades of caucus.
Dogs have fleas. Dogs, fleas.
Cactus, crocus, cock-hated cockroach.
In Kafka, you in Kafka.
I'd rather lay an egg in a box than go and steal an ox.
Let me gnash my teeth.
Let's go and slap Ulysses.
I'm going to my cabana to sit among the cacao trees.
Cacao trees on cacao farms don't yield coconuts, they yield cacao. Cacao trees on cacao farms don't yield coconuts, they yield cacao. Cacao trees on cacao farms don't yield coconuts, they yield cacao.
Mice have lice. Lice haven't mice.
Don't roost my roost.
Don't switch the brooch.
Groom the goose, don't goose the groom.
The goose grooms.
Groom your tooth.
Groom the bridegroom, groom the bridegroom.
Seducer, seduce.
Oh, scaramouche.
Saint Natouche.
Go take a douche.
I've been
Sage Natouche stoops my cartouche.
You'd stoop to blame, and I'd never choose to stoop.
Robert!
Browning. Rudyard.
Kipling!
Robert Kipling!
Rudyard Browning!
Silly gobble gobblers, silly gobble gobblers.
Maybe I have to spot the pot.
Krishnamurti, 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 Krishnamurti.
The Pope elopes. The Pope's got no horoscope. The horoscope bespoke.
Bazar, Balzac, bazooka.
Bizarre Brazil boys.
A-E
stage to surge.
I'm at the cinema.
There, it's 9 o'clock. We've drunk the soup and eaten the fish and chips and the English salad. The children have drunk the English water. We've eaten well this evening. That is because we live in the suburbs of London and because our name is Smith.